Thunder Force is a brand new Netflix exclusive superhero movie starring Melissa McCarthy, Octavia Spencer and Jason Bateman. So Thunder Force comes out today at the time of this video going live on April 9th. But a new superhero movie, I was very intrigued, especially, because we don't have enough superhero movies. But at least someone's trying something a little bit different. So before we jump into the review, I've got one little favour to ask, and that's if you enjoyed today's video, please hit that subscribe button for new content every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And with that said, let's get into the video. Now, if you've seen the trailer, which we featured on the Movie Film Show on Monday, you'll know this movie is more of a comedic superhero thing. In fact, let's refresh our minds of that trailer.
Thunder Force, remember it.
For the first time in history, we're seeing real-life superheroes fighting crime.
Upper dirty.
But we're also seeing a new kind of criminal.
This city deserves what's coming to it. Boom.
It's go time. Oh, we've got to rethink this car.
So I'm going to try and keep this review spoiler-free as much as possible. But let me give you the basics of the story. So the movie is set in a world or a planet Earth or a different timeline where supervillains exist with superpowers known as miscreants. That's how you know they're the bad guys, because they're called miscreants. Get it? It's clever. Except kind of on the nose. Perhaps foreshadowing the whole movie. Miscreants are a problem, and two people set out to stop miscreants and they end up getting killed. Those two people have a daughter who's left behind, and that daughter ends up getting bullied in school. A girl comes along and saves her. They end up becoming best friends. They later on to grow up to become Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer, at least their characters. So it's Octavia Spencer's character whose parents were killed by the miscreants, and she vows to get revenge, take down miscreants. She's going to find a way to stop them at some point. So along the way, the two best friends have an argument, they split up, go in their separate directions. Don't see each other again for years until there's a school reunion, and Melissa McCarthy's character wants to meet up with her friend again, and she won't take no for an answer. She goes and finds her friend at her secret lab, or her science, it's not really a secret lab, it's just a lab. So Melissa McCarthy gets into the lab pretty easily after saying she's her best friend, even though they haven't seen each other for years. And she's told to wait in a room by herself. But she, of course, goes snooping, ends up sitting in a chair, and like we see in the trailer, she gets injected with a serum. Octavia Spencer's company has been developing superpower serum. However, for some reason, they've only developed one lot of super strength serum, because they say it took them 5 years to develop it. Surely they could have made more than one, but I guess that wouldn't help the story. So Melissa McCarthy has got the first injection for super strength. Octavia Spencer still has the injection for invisibility, which is going to become her power. And to the long and the short of it, they end up with superpowers, one each. And despite not having seen each other for years, they're now forced together to fight crime. I guess it's kind of a unique way of someone getting superpowers. Rather than being bitten by a radioactive spider or being from a far distant planet like Krypton or having rich parents, this is a different way to get superpowers, I guess. Someone just developed superpower serum somehow. They don't really explain how they did it, just like, we did it. Cool. We don't necessarily need to know. The one thing I liked is that it wasn't just a case of one shot and you've got superpowers. They showed basically a training montage where every day they had to take different serum and do different tests, and they build up their strength gradually over time. It wasn't an instantaneous thing, and I felt that was good within the story, because it could have been very easy, one injection, superpower strength, Popeye style. For the most part, that's as much the story I'm going to give you, because I'm sure a lot of people out there will want to check out the movie for themselves on Netflix. It is available right now, as I say. So Jason Bateman plays one of the bad guys in it. He's called the Crab because he's got crab arms. They do later on explain how he got those crab arms in an unfortunate accident that involved a radioactive crab. So, the thing I said earlier about them not always getting superpowers the conventional way kind of goes out the window with some people. But yeah, he's kind of a miscreant. He says half-creant, which they, hilariously keep joking about. Half Korean? No, half-creant. So, some really funny jokes in this one. This is a comedy movie with some very funny people in it. Jason Bateman, Melissa McCarthy, Octavia Spencer, they're all fantastic. But this movie does not, for me anyway, have any laugh out loud moments. It's got a couple of chuckles here and there, some very, very poor jokes. So the movie's got like a 12s rating. So it's relatively family friendly. I don't think it's super family friendly. I don't think it's like small kids will like this movie. Maybe teens will. Obviously there's violence in it because it's a superhero movie, but there's no blood. There's no swearing that I remember, but there is stuff like the main bad guys talking about killing people, and weirdly one character talking about how killing is her hobby. Even going to the point of at one stage saying, I don't like knitting. So I didn't know there were two choices between hobbies. You've got knitting or murder. I guess I've been doing hobbies wrong, so I've got my choice. I'll see where I go with it. I'll let you know. Or not, because you know, one of them very illegal. Knitting's not allowed over here. The other thing that makes it questionable whether it's completely family friendly is there's a few sexual innuendos and stuff like that, minor stuff. For the most part, it is relatively family friendly. Although what I would say is the thing it reminded me of was terrible movies I watched when I was a kid. Movies on like Nickelodeon and stuff like that. Because the bad guy is so over the top, and the superheroes, everything's too easy for them, and it's just very cheesy. I don't want to say it's a terrible movie. It's not a terrible movie, but I don't think it's a good movie at the same time. Did I enjoy watching the movie? No, I didn't. But maybe it wasn't targeted at me. I like superhero movies, I like comedy movies, and as I stated already, I love the three main actors in the movie. They've all been in some great movies down the years. Really love the female Ghostbusters. That was good. As I say, the movie overall, it's very predictable where it goes. It's a very paint by numbers type of movie. You'll be able to tell everything that's going to happen within this movie after about 5 minutes. I was going to say there's no big twists and turns, but they tried to put twists and turns in there that are so obvious. I could put every character from this movie on the screen, and then you could probably figure out which characters do like the evil turn. They like play both sides, or they switch around. Like someone on the superhero team ends up helping the bad guy, and someone from the bad guy's team ends up helping the good guys at the end. It's fairly generic. And that's the thing with this superhero movie. Unfortunately, there's nothing super about it. And then they have this whole thing with one of the bad guys' goons called Andy, and there's the whole thing about whether his name is Andy or Andrew, or what his mom calls him, or some of his friends call him Drew. And it just keeps going on, and they call back to it later on, and it's something that would be only seen in a really bad 90s Nickelodeon movie. The movie seems confused as to what it wants to be at times, whether it wants to be targeted at kids to make them laugh for the family friendly stuff, or whether they want to have, you know, more violence or people talking about killing other people. And then on top of that, a lot of the movie is about the mayor and his political election and how he wants to get elected to president at some stage. You know, because politics has always been really good with sci-fi stuff. It worked really well for the Star Wars prequels, so why not for this? I was really looking forward to this movie. I couldn't wait to get my hands on it. I was pestering Netflix for a long time to give me the screener for it. Maybe it was built up in my head that it was going to be something special, and I should have known. Unfortunately, as I said, there's nothing super about it. You know, it's a superhero movie, you have to use the word super, probably gotta put it in the title, maybe in the thumbnail, we'll see what happens. There's also this weird thing with Melissa McCarthy's character when, after she gets superpowers, she likes to eat raw chicken. They didn't explain why, they just have it in there that her character likes to eat raw chicken. And she ends up bonding with Jason Bateman later on because of the same thing. He also likes eating raw chicken. And I don't get if that was supposed to be funny or whether the writer just, I don't know why it's in there. It wasn't funny, it doesn't make sense, and there's no reason for it. Well, I guess the writer made himself laugh. I can fully picture the writer just sitting at his computer typing away, and he writes in raw chicken. He's like, oh, this will be hilarious, and he's making himself laugh. And for hours and hours on afterwards, he's like, oh, people are gonna love that. Raw chicken. She eats raw chicken. Good job. For me, I think it might even be one of the worst written movies I've seen in a long time. Some of the jokes are terrible. So as I say, it's almost like a 90s kids movie, but it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a family friendly action movie that families sit down on the weekend and watch and enjoy all together. And I don't think anyone in the family is specifically catered for. It's kind of like just thrown a load of stuff together and supposed to cater for everybody at the same time and ends up catering for nobody. So you might have guessed already, based on all the negatives I talked about and the very few positives I talked about, that I wasn't a big fan of this one. Unfortunately, I wanted to be a big fan of this one, but unfortunately for me, Thunder Force is a 5 out of 10 movie. Whether you agree or disagree, I certainly want to know your opinions on Thunder Force in the comments section below. But with all that said and done, thank you so much for watching.